Hey there, and welcome to the Confident Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Brooks. Join me as I sit down and chat with co-hosts, friends, and carefully curated guests and talk about all the things that empower you to become your best and most confident self. So, let's get started. I've been thinking a lot about the moment when something that once felt so freeing slowly starts feeling like pressure. And I don't think you always notice it right away, especially when it's happening, or at least I didn't. Because looking back, I can see pieces of it now very clearly. But at the time, I probably would have called it growth or would have called it something like a learning moment. Either way, I would have said that I'm learning, I'm trying, figuring things out, doing the responsible thing. After writing the book and starting the podcast and finishing my fitness competitions and going through this very semi-public version of transformation that people could see from the outside. And that was kind of scary, but yet also a little bit liberating. So after winning my fitness competitions, I was just putting the finishing touches on my book, Chasing Perfection. And people kept asking me what was next. And I get it. I get why they asked. I mean, I'd gone through this whole healing process, and from the outside, it probably looked like I should have had a clear answer, but I didn't. I was still figuring life out. And that's not the answer people expect from you, but it was the truth. I was still trying to figure out and understand who I had become after all of that. But people saw the photo, the after photo, the book, the stage, the podcast, the confidence, and the visible proof that something had changed. And what they didn't see was how much of me was still catching up to the woman they were now clapping for. And I remember a woman had said to me, "Something had changed about you. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it." And I just smiled because I knew what she was talking about, but like her, couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't identify what that thing was. And so that was the weird part, because you can become someone new and still not fully know how to live as her yet. So when people ask what was next, I heard more than that question. I personally, all I heard was pressure. I heard, okay, now what are we going to do with this? I heard, how are you going to turn this into something? And somewhere inside of me, it started poking at this old belief that if I wasn't producing, achieving, building, or proving something, then maybe it wasn't enough. And maybe I wasn't enough. And even though that was a huge obstacle I had to overcome, the scar will always be there. The wound will always be there. They serve as a reminder of how far you've come. And so that's part of this healing journey and healing process, is just because you've healed doesn't mean that it didn't ever happen. And so back then, I didn't have words for any of that. I just knew I felt this urgency to find this answer because I didn't want to sound dumb, I guess. Like, what is next? You're like, I don't know. But I didn't have that answer. So naturally to me, let me go find it or I'll create it. And since fitness was part of the story at the time, it was the part that people could actually see. And so it became this obvious next suggestion. You change your body, so help other women change theirs. You went through this process, so coach others women through it. You found confidence through fitness, so build the business there. Again, from the outside, that makes sense. But for me, on the inside, something didn't feel right. It did not align with me. And while I gave it a try, because again, I'm a firm believer in never say never. So when I met with resistance, I just figured, okay, I'll give it a whirl. So I did. I tried it for a short time because, again, I didn't know what else to do. So honestly, I didn't want to just ignore something that I guess seemed like the obvious next step to everyone else. And after all, they might know something that I don't know because I'm still learning. But the truth is, I didn't hate helping women. That was never the issue. I loved watching a woman realize that she was stronger than she thought. I loved seeing her start to believe in herself again. What felt wrong was the assumption that the visible part of my transformation was the whole assignment. And that's why I did not continue or pursue fitness coaching. So while fitness had changed my life, fitness wasn't the whole story. And that was not the journey I wanted to take women on. And so as I sat down and thought about this, I found a note that I wrote back in 2020. And I was reading it now, and it made me realize that I already knew the truth before I actually had the full picture and the full build out in front of me, before I had a plan, before I knew any of this. And I wrote that fitness was my passion. That was it, passion. Difference between purpose. It was my passion. It was something I loved and something that was part of my life. But I couldn't feel myself burning out from trying to turn it into everything. From the conversations, the recipes, the cooking, the documenting workouts, the constant need to make fitness the center of the work. And it all started feeling like too much. It felt also very limiting. And I remember the line that I wrote back then was, I didn't want it to swallow me whole. And that's exactly what it was. I didn't want the very thing that helped me heal to become another box I had to perform inside of. Fitness gave me discipline. It gave me strength. It helped me rebuild trust with myself. But I didn't want every conversation to become about workouts, food, meal prep, macros, flexible dieting, body goals, and literally documenting every day the entire process. And while those things mattered, they weren't the deeper work that I was interested in. What I cared about was helping women get fit from within. That was the part I couldn't stop thinking about. The inner work, the healing, the identity piece. The part where a woman realizes that the thing she keeps chasing on the outside is usually connected to something much deeper on the inside. And no amount of food or workouts or habits or morning routines can create that. A workout can help your body get stronger, and a meal plan can help support your health, but neither one will heal the belief that you're not enough. And they can't rebuild the part of you that keeps trying to earn approval. They can't fix the place inside of you that still feels unacceptable, even after the body changes, and after you hit your goals, or even on the outside when it starts looking better. And it can never change or fix your own perceived value of worth. I knew that because I lived it. For years, I kept chasing the next thing that I thought would finally fix me, heal me, or solve me. That if I fixed my body, maybe I'd feel worthy. If I hit the goal, maybe I'd feel enough. If I became successful enough, maybe the restlessness would settle down. But I kept putting bandages over wounds that needed something deeper. And that's why the last line of that note still gets to me, even today. And I wrote, I'm not here to help you change your dressing. I'm here to help you heal. That was a truth I didn't know how to package yet. And that's where things started getting hard, because the deeper work doesn't always fit neatly into a business box. It would have been easier to say, I help women lose weight. It would have been easier to build around the body, the before and after, the visible transformations, because people know what to do with that. They understand it. It's a tangible outcome, and they can categorize that. They can see that. But what I was carrying didn't fit that cleanly, neatly, or packaged perfectly. And I had the words, and I had the podcast, and I had a book, and I had a heart for women, and I had this story that changed me, but I didn't know how to turn all of that into a business without reducing it, without shrinking myself, without shrinking the impact, without shrinking the outcome. of transformation. And so I started looking around. I listened to people, I bought things, I tried things. I questioned my message, my audience, my offer, my content, my platform, my voice, literally all of it. The online business space felt so ambiguous to me because everyone had a different answer for it. In fitness, there were principles that I could return to. In faith, there was truth under my feet. Online entrepreneurship felt like every person had their own version of what worked, and when one answer didn't click, I think maybe the next one would. And everyone had their own version of success, freedom, and what life's supposed to look like and feel like. And I was still searching and seeking and finding mine. And that's the exhausting part. When your brain already wants to solve everything and quickly move on. Like, how long does your brain have to keep chewing on the same riddle before it gets tired and wants to quit and spit it out? And so I don't casually just hold a question. As I said, my brain will chomp and chew. I pull it apart. I look at it from every angle. I connect it to 17 other things, and before I can even create a post or record the episode or build the offer, I'm already tired from trying to solve the whole machine in my head. And that's where this work started to feel heavy and tiresome and exhausting. It felt like Groundhog's Day. Every day was the same. And so I remember I'd sit down to write and wonder and question and doubt myself. Is it clear enough? Did it make sense? Is my message too broad, too generalized? Is it too specific? Is it too deep? And I'd overthink on everything. And then I would think about the podcast and wonder if the takeaways were strong enough. I'd question whether my story was too broad or too emotional, too personal, too hard to explain. The more I tried to become understandable, the further I felt from the woman who started creating in the first place. That's what I mean when I say success stopped feeling like freedom. It wasn't that success was wrong. Money, business, strategy, and structure, all of that matters. And I believe that because that's where we create systems. That's where we create sustainability. But the problem was that I started trying to become legible to people who could only see the most marketable part of me. They saw fitness and confidence. I was trying to explain the healing underneath it. Then social media shifted. Then marketing shifted. Then algorithms shifted. And all these things added another layer, another compound complexity to this riddle that I'd been trying to solve. And for me, I loved Instagram back in the day when I was documenting my own fitness journey. And it used to feel like a place where I could just write and connect. And I would post and share recipes and workouts and things. It was a place to document and share in real time. But it did not mean that I wanted to do that forever. These were just interests and passions that I was learning in real time. And so I would sit with this caption every time I would post, and I would edit it down and share something that meant something to me. And people read it and they responded it, and it felt human. And I remember this one post. I actually don't remember what the post was about, but the comment that came after. And there was this woman who was also in the fitness industry. And I kind of had like my small community that we were sharing posts and commenting. And this woman in this community group had said, "Oh, that's deep." And I remember reading this at the dinner table, and I just started welling up with tears in my eyes. And I couldn't figure out why. And the more I sat with it was that this moment of feeling so misunderstood. I took that comment and internalized it and thought it was too much. I'm too much. They missed what I was trying to say. And I felt so misunderstood. And so that, even though it's just an innocent comment, it opened something else in me. And that's where I realized in sharing the depths, I had to go a little bit wider and more congruent with the outcomes of where I was trying to lead women. And that at the time, that platform, Instagram, for example, it became faster, it became shorter and louder because everyone was just trying to catch your attention. And I didn't want to shout more into the void. I didn't want to keep doing things that didn't align with me. And it became very much more video driven, more trend driven, algorithm games. And it just became very performative. And so some people, they adapted beautifully and easily and seamlessly. And I'm not taking anything away from them. Or if you found that was your platform and you were growing and thriving, that's incredible for you, but not for me. For me, it felt like the medium was pulled out of my hands. You see, if you're a writer, an artist, a speaker, or someone who creates through a very specific form, and you know what I mean, you can't take away the very thing and the very way someone naturally creates and expect the work to carry the same soul. And that's why this podcast still matters to me most, because this is my depth. This is my connection. This is my community, and a way that I can take the content and expand and build upon it. And so audio lets me meet a woman here in the middle of her actual life, where she could be walking, driving, folding clothes, or cooking dinner, or running errands, or waiting in the pickup line to pick up her children from school, or just trying to breathe between everything that she's carrying. She doesn't have to stop and stare at a screen. She can just listen, and maybe something in her feels even just a little less alone. So that's who I know. That's who I know how to speak to. So if there's anything I want to leave you with today, it's this. Sometimes the next step people see for you is only the part of the story they can understand. It doesn't make them wrong, but it doesn't make them fully right either. You still have to pay attention to the part of you that knows when something is too small for the work God is doing inside of you. As for me, fitness was part of the testimony, but it wasn't the whole healing. The visible transformation was real, but the inner work was the thing that changed me. When I tried to build around the part that was easiest for people to understand, I started drifting from the deeper truth that I already knew. So I want you to sit with this for a minute. Where have you been building around the part people can see while ignoring the part God is still healing underneath? Where have you mistaken someone else's clarity for your own? Where has success started feeling less like freedom and more like another way to prove you're enough? You don't have to have all the answers today. Give yourself grace. You're still working through this, just as I am working through this myself. But naming where the pressure started pulling you away from yourself, that's a powerful place to begin. And if you need a simple place to start, I created the I Am Enough as a 10-minute identity reset to help you pause, breathe, and reconnect with what's true before the pressure got too big and too loud. You can grab that at iamrachelbrooks.com/enough. So until next week, take care and God bless.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the Confident Woman Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Thanks again for listening.